You were always the fast one. Not just fast, different. You outran everyone at recess, beat older kids in the neighborhood, chased down fly balls nobody else touched. Teachers said you had wheels. Coaches lit up when they saw you run your first 40. It felt effortless. Fun dot, like your legs had something to prove before your brain caught up. You didn't know anything about biomechanics, stride frequency, or acceleration phases. You just knew no one could catch you. That's how it starts. They enter you in youth track. You win heats with sloppy form and untied laces. The other kids are gasping by 60 meters, and you're still accelerating. People start whispering, "He's got something. She's got natural talent." And the big one, you could be the next Usain Bolt. That name starts showing up early. The gold standard, the god of speed. You pull up YouTube videos, Beijing, London, that smile at 85 meters. He made it look fun. You wanted that, but no one told you what it would take. So you kept running, started training, early mornings, spikes, blocks, sled pulls, drills you don't understand but do anyway because your coach says, "This is how champions move." You watch yourself on video in slow motion. Every step scrutinized, every inefficiency circled. Suddenly it's not just fun anymore, it's technical. Track becomes your identity. You start skipping birthday parties for practice. You're at meets every weekend. You wear compression gear to school. You stop playing other sports. Not worth the injury risk. You train like a pro before you even get a license. You see kids drop out. One pulls a hamstring, another gets burned out, another misses a meet because they couldn't make weight. You're still standing, still sprinting, still hearing the same promise in every coach's voice. You've got potential. But potential has a shelf life. Everyone's chasing the same hundredths of a second, and it doesn't matter how fast you used to be. Someone younger is always coming, always smoother out the blocks, always more relaxed through the drive phase. You start lifting more, eating cleaner, watching film. You learn to think about speed, which makes it harder to just feel it. Every movement is analyzed now, every warm-up, every stretch, every toe placement. And suddenly, races aren't fun anymore. They're tests, pressure cookers. One bad start and you're out. One trip and you're done. No time for mistakes, no second chances, because this sport doesn't care how hard you work. It only cares what the clock says. You start noticing things. Your hamstrings always feel tight. You stretch religiously, ice your knees, foam roll like it's a job, and you're still in high school. But that's what it takes. Because to be a sprinter is to dedicate your entire life for a moment that lasts less than 11 seconds. And if you're not breaking 10:50 by 18, you're already behind. You used to race for joy. Now you race because it's all you know. You're no longer the fastest kid at school. You're one of hundreds who used to be the fastest. The field's deeper now. College scouts watch everything. You line up next to monsters, grown men in high school jerseys. You see the nerves, the doubt, the edge. And just like that, what once felt like flying now feels like survival. You start training like a machine. Sprints, starts, blocks, hill work, weight room, plyometrics, stretching routines that take longer than your actual races. You wake up sore and go to sleep tighter. There's no such thing as casual anymore. Everything you do is for speed. And still, it's never enough. You drop a 10th off your 100-meter time? Congrats. So did the kid 2 lanes down, and he's 17. Every race is a reminder. Nobody cares what you almost ran. It's about what the clock shows next to your name. Every meet starts to feel like court. You step into the blocks, heart pounding, knowing one twitch, one misfire, one slip, and it's over. You start measuring success in fractions of seconds. 10.42 isn't good enough. 10.29 isn't elite. And 10.10? That's still second tier if you're dreaming of Olympic trials. One win legal sub-10 might get you noticed, but even then, it better not be a fluke. That's the thing about sprinting. One PR doesn't make a career, but one stumble can ruin it. False starts haunt you. The silence before the gun feels like it lasts a lifetime. You learn to hold tension in your whole body, then explode without overthinking. You're not racing against people, you're racing against fear, fatigue, doubt, and time itself. Injuries creep in, hamstrings tighten on cold mornings, Achilles tendons start barking during drills. You ice after every practice. Tape becomes your best friend. You learn to mask pain because admitting you're hurt means pulling out of a meet. And pulling out means losing ranking, sponsorships, invites. This sport doesn't wait for you. You start watching Noah Lyles and realize the guy's a freak. Long stride, big personality, fearless in front of the mic. He runs the 200 like he's floating. But you're stuck in the grind. You're not a world champ. You're not viral. You're not marketable. You're just trying to stay healthy enough to race again next week? You realize the truth. Sprinting is cruel because it only rewards perfection, and only for a moment. Nobody cares about your 4th place finish with a personal best. Nobody remembers your semifinal run unless it turned into a medal. Nobody notices the hours of drills, the dietary restrictions, the cryotherapy, the emotional burnout. They just see a number next to your name and decide whether you're legit. You live in a constant state of anxiety. You look around and see rivals doping, cutting corners, chasing records that feel untouchable. You try to stay clean, stay focused, but how do you fight back when someone shaves 0.12 off their time overnight? You see the business side. The meets that pay appearance fees, but only for names. You don't get one unless you're winning. You don't get sponsored unless you're already known. You don't get paid unless you're already rich with momentum. You're trying to build a life around a sport that only lasts 10 seconds and still demands your entire life in return. And worst of all, you start to fear the thing you once loved most. Because now, when you line up to run, you're not excited. You're terrified of what happens if you lose. You've made it. You're pro now. Maybe you cracked a national team. Maybe you're ranked. You've got the gear, the travel schedule, the badge that says elite. You've walked into the call room with Olympic medalists. You've lined up in a Diamond League heat next to someone you watched on TV as a teenager. This is what you worked for. But now, the pressure isn't just external, it's existential. Because now that you're here, there's no room to slip. You have one job: stay fast. Always. You study film religiously, watch frame-by-frame breakdowns of your starts, your drive phase, your turnover. You compare your form to Noah Lyles, who seems to glide where others strain. You slow down footage of the old Bolt finals. His head still, his arms loose, his stride eating the track. You try to mimic it. But mimicking doesn't equal mastering. And you're learning that the pro level is less about finding a top gear, and more about finding it on demand. Your season is measured in fractions. You peak too soon, you fade by nationals. Peak too late, you miss qualifying altogether. Miss your moment by a week and you might miss it forever. Your body is a high-performance engine, but it comes with mileage. Your hamstrings feel like guitar strings waiting to snap. Your hips click after hurdle drills. You never stop nursing something, and you can't afford to take time off because even resting feels like falling behind. There's no off-season. While NBA players get rehab schedules and guaranteed contracts, your income depends on racing. You don't show, you don't get paid, you miss a standard, no bonus, you pull up in the middle of a heat, you might not get invited back. And when you do race, you're chasing ghosts. You feel it every time someone brings up Bolt, the fastest man alive, the benchmark you'll never reach. You know the numbers. 9.58 in the 100, 19.19 in the 200. No one's even come close since. And now the media wants the next one. Noah Lyles is the name they push. Charismatic, consistent. A showman who owns the 200 like a brand. You respect him, but you also know the shadow he casts. You race in that same era, you run the same heats, but unless you beat him or break him, you're invisible. You're elite, but unmarketed. You know that one injury, one false start, one bad season, and you vanish. Sponsors drop you. Federations move on. You get replaced by a younger sprinter with better Instagram reach and slightly fresher quads. This sport doesn't reward tenure, it rewards results. And now that you're here, you realize the game isn't about speed. It's about sustained speed. Surviving the grind without breaking. Repeating perfection over and over with no margin for error. You've made it. But now you're terrified of losing it. You don't notice the decline at first. At this level, 1 or 2 tenths slower could just be a bad day. A bad block set, a poor lane, wind conditions, travel fatigue. You tell yourself it's nothing. But deep down, you feel it. The pop in your stride isn't the same. Your reaction time slows by milliseconds. You feel stiffer when you wake up, looser when you should be tight. The bounce you used to carry into the warm-up jog is gone. Now it's all routine, effort, work. You're still fast, still elite by human standards. But the world of sprinting isn't about human standards. It's about superhuman consistency. And you can't fake that anymore. There's a kid 5 years younger now. Long legs, clean mechanics, fresh tendons. He's running your times, and you know he hasn't even peaked yet. You shake his hand after the race, but inside, you feel that dull panic. He's going to replace me. You know how this goes. You've seen others fall off. One year they're in the final. Next year, they're running B heats in obscure meets in Europe just to stay relevant. By year 3, they're not even on the entry list. Track forgets fast. You miss a season to rehab a hamstring, or a stress fracture, or a torn hip flexor that just won't go away. You take 6 weeks off, then 8, then 12. You come back and run a 10.42. Nobody calls that elite. They call it done. your sponsorship shrinks. No more bonuses for podiums, no more paid flights. Your name disappears from previews. The cameras don't linger when you're in lane 2. You're no longer a threat, you're a veteran, which is just a polite way of saying past tense. You try to adapt, maybe move up to the 200, try the 4x100 pool, do some coaching. But sprinting doesn't have a transition plan. It's not like football with coordinators or basketball with vet minimums. Once you can't hit the standard, you're out. You watch replays of your old races. You hear your name in commentaries. Used to be dangerous, former national finalist, once clocked 10.12, past tense, past tense, past tense. And it hurts in a strange, invisible way because your whole life was built around being the fastest. Now you're just not. You don't walk into rooms with the same posture anymore. You don't stretch with purpose. You stretch because if you don't, your body locks up. You still train. You still love the sport. But now the question lingers. What am I if I'm not sprinting anymore? You start getting asked to mentor, to speak, to give advice, because that's what happens when the race ends. People stop watching you run and start asking how it felt. You gave your life to this. Not most of it. All of it. From the moment they said you were fast, everything revolved around the track. You skipped parties, missed holidays, declined jobs, passed on normal for a shot at greatness that lasted, if you were lucky, 10 seconds at a time. You poured everything into chasing perfect steps. The angle of your knee, the position of your arm, the reaction to the gun. You trained to shave hundredths off a time no one else could understand but you. And when you got it right, when the form clicked, the drive was clean, the finish explosive, it felt like flying. But no one tells you how fast that flight ends. You blink and it's gone. You weren't Usain Bolt. You didn't run 9.58. You didn't change the sport. You weren't Noah Lyles either. You didn't win the press conferences. You didn't build a brand. You were good, sometimes great. But this sport doesn't honor good. It buries it. People still think sprinting is simple. Run fast, win, smile. But it's a lifetime of isolation, a calendar of pain, a career that lives and dies in margins most people can't even see. You can feel your legacy slipping before it's even finished. You watch new stars rise. You know their names, know their agents, know their times. You clap for them because you know the war they've survived just to get there. But there's bitterness too, because you also know they'll be forgotten, same as you. Because sprinting doesn't give you trophies for trying or medals for loyalty. It gives you one moment, then moves on. You walk differently now. Ankles stiff, knees loud, hips crooked. You feel every lift, every bounding drill, every block push from your 20s, echoing in your 30s like old debts. No one ever tells you how to stop, how to walk away from the stopwatch, how to not chase your old self, how to be someone besides the fast one. You gave the sport your body. It gave you glory, once. Then it asked for more. And when you had nothing left, it stopped calling. That's why it sucks to be a sprinter.